most of us, I would say, get into college coaching, and we're largely looking at the game through the lens of a player or a former player, right? But the thing that makes football, to me, the greatest game on earth are that there are so many parallels between what it takes to have success on the football field and what it takes to have success in life.
Welcome back from the 513. Let's talk on the defensive side of the ball with safeties coach Adam Braithwaite here today. Coach, let's get started right here. You're new to the staff.
Yeah, got here in January. Yep.
I know that it's a very quick process and a lot is going on, but how are you enjoying Cincinnati so far to this point?
Yeah, so far so good. You know, got here right at the beginning of January, had the opportunity to be involved with, you know, that early part of the recruiting process, especially with some of our portal guys. So again, like you said, it was quick, it was dive right in, and it was get to work and let the rest kind of figure it out as we go. Feeling really good here as of May. Now I've finally kind of settled into a place to live and kind of got that weight off my shoulders, so I'm able to, you know, enjoy the city of Cincinnati just a little bit more than what I was.
What was it about this job that was so enticing? When you think about the history here and who's come through here, who's coached here, what was it about Cincinnati that stuck out to you?
Yeah, I mean, I think obviously you look at the last 20 years, Cincinnati football. I mean, I could argue that Cincinnati is one of the best football programs in the country over the last 20 years. And you look at, you know, the conference championships, the bowl games in the college football playoff, the history of putting guys in the NFL who've had a ton of success. And so just an honor and a privilege, you know, for me to be a part of a program with such a rich history and rich tradition. And, you know, once you get here and you walk through the walls and you see what's going on inside the building, you know, we're a blue-collar, hard-nosed football program, and that really kind of aligns with my style of coaching. So that's motivating as well, you know, just to show up and lay it on the line every day.
You mentioned your style of coaching. What was it about coaching that made you want to get in and do this?
Yeah, you know, I wasn't one of those guys who knew from the get-go that I wanted to be a coach. You know, as a player, you know, since I was 10 years old, football was my passion and largely my identity, but that was as a player. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I was probably a immature, kind of naive kid, and when my playing days were over, I didn't really have a plan. You know, I wished I was a whole lot better than what I was as a player and could have kept playing, but that wasn't the case. And so, you know, went through a little period after college where I didn't quite know what I wanted to do. Ended up going back to my hometown, linking up with some guys working construction, helping out a little bit, you know, with my high school football team. And, you know, some conversations with my college defensive coordinator, along with doing a pretty bad, hard, grueling job on the construction site.
Sure.
One day I said, man, I got to try something different. And that's what led me to try to get into the college coaching world. And, you know, I still had that passion and hunger for football, you know, that I had as a player. So that's what got me in on the front end of it.
It helps as well to be a player that has sat in meetings and taken coaching and now trying to deliver that to the players. Do you go back to a moment as a player early on in coaching that still sticks with you today, that you carry with you?
Yeah, there's so many things that you know have stuck with me over the years, and so many lessons that you learn throughout your playing days as a player. I think, you know, so I draw on those experiences a lot. You know, my college defensive coordinator and I have a great relationship, and he was one of the guys who mentored me throughout the process. And you know, really during my playing days for him, he helped kind of cultivate, I guess, the coaching side of my, you know, of myself, you know, in meetings, and really felt like he saw that I had the capacity to be a good coach and a good teacher, and reach young men, and so, you know, I go back to those days a lot.
When you sit down with, whether it's someone out of the portal or a high school athlete that's coming here and their family, what's your message about why Cincinnati, why come here and play?
Yeah, I mean, I think you're at the highest level of college football in the Big 12 conference. You're going to get a chance to compete for not only a conference championship, but to compete on the national stage, and winning a national championship is something that is a real possibility here. And then I think, development, right? I feel like we do a great job of developing our players, not only as football players, but as young men, and preparing them for life after football. And I think then just the people, that one of the reasons why I'm here at Cincinnati is because of my relationships with guys on staff, and the quality of people, starting with Coach Satterfield on down. So I think you're going to be surrounded in a society that's big business, when you're talking about big time college football, finding that true family atmosphere, and guys that really care about you both on and off the football field.
From a personal level, as you go from not knowing if you want to do this to now rising up the ranks as well, you mentioned being at the University of Cincinnati. What's motivating you every morning to want to come and attack this?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, most of us, I would say, get into college coaching, and we're largely looking at the game through the lens of a player or a former player, right? But the thing that makes football, to me, the greatest game on earth are that there are so many parallels between what it takes to have success on the football field and what it takes to have success in life. And so, quickly as you get into the profession, you figure out that, if you coach this thing the right way, you have a tremendous opportunity to have a positive impact on your players, and equip them with the skills that it's going to take to last them a lifetime, right? So football is my passion, but that's become my purpose. That's what motivates me. That's what gets me out of bed and drives me to show up every day and lay it on the line.
When I played here, I felt like the culture in the locker room, we were such a close-knit bunch of guys. And in today's football, it's different because you're implementing high school players, you're implementing transfer guys out of different colleges, and you're kind of bringing them into this one big melting pot. How do you describe the culture that is being built for this football team at UC?
Yeah, I think that is one of our main themes, and if there's one lesson that I could take from football, it's the unity piece, right? We pride ourselves on being the most connected football team in the country, and we're in a world that almost cultivates the individual, and a selfish mindset. But at the end of the day, football is still the ultimate team game. In order for the team to reach its pinnacle, you got to have the best from every individual in the room, and for every individual who has their individual goals, as we all do, you need the team, in order to reach that and to be successful. So, we pride ourselves on connection, player to player, player to coach, and that's been, really refreshing to be a part of.
Take me into a position meeting for you. Let's say day one, and you're installing not just the X's and O's, but what it's going to take to be successful in this system. What are you instilling as those pillars on day one for your defense?
Yeah, I think you gotta set expectations, right? For what you're expecting from the guys, whether that be just how to conduct themselves in a meeting, to how they communicate with each other and how they communicate with me. But I think the things that I'm trying to every day touch on, would be unity, grit, and discipline, right? As far as it relates to football. And I think, if we can be a consistent, gritty, unified group, unselfish, great attitude, show up with a great work ethic, great attention to detail. I think whatever the lesson of the day is, whatever the install of the day is, I think, that pretty much applies to all aspects of what we're trying to get done here.
If you're turning on tape from last year's team, or a high school player, or a transfer guy, what are some attributes that you're looking for that are going to translate to thriving in this system?
Yeah, I think, we run a unique system on defense, and especially at the safety position. I think that's the most unique part of it, where we imply the three high safety look. And so, I think versatility, right, is the key. I think, in a perfect world, DB coaches, we play with 5 of them, right? We would want the same skill set in all 5 guys. Obviously you got to be able to cover, you got to be able to tackle, you got to be a communicator, you got to be a thinker out on the football field. So I think that's what we're looking for, the most versatile group of defensive backs that we can find. and then we'll plug them in, once we get them here and figure out what the best fit is and what the best 11 or best, platoon of guys is to play.
I'm biased because I think quarterback's the toughest position to play, but if I had to pick something else, to me it's always been secondary, because you've got so many different things coming at you and you don't know the depth of which the receiver is going to be breaking. You don't know if they're going deep. You don't know if they're going to break something off. So in a position that is so difficult, because there is going to be failures. There is going to be times in practice where in 7-on-7 things are set up for the offense to win. How do you deal with failure in coaching safeties and knowing that you got to come back to the next play?
Yeah, I mean, I think really the focus is more just on the preparation piece of it, right? I mean, you understand that it's not always going to work out perfect, that you're going to have to overcome adversity, right? And I think that mental grit, that's one of the biggest things, is just approaching things with a mental toughness where when things don't go the way that you want it, or things aren't successful on a particular play, that you're able to flush that, focus on the task at hand, overcome that, and move on to the next play. So I think it's just a way that you approach everything you do on a day-to-day basis, from having a mental toughness and a mindset that you're going to be able to, persevere and push through those situations. Because, yeah, you're right. I'd probably have a whole lot more hair if I coached offense than coaching defense, especially in today's world.
From a defensive makeup standpoint, it's a unique group that you guys are bringing back, because at the very middle of it is a guy in Dante Corleone who could have went and played at the next level.
Yeah.
You've got returners at the linebacker level. You got returners in the secondary, but it's also a defense that relied on a lot of young players last year. So how much does just that experience from a year ago help a defense going into another year of a new system, essentially?
Yeah, I mean, I've always said I feel like you win with seniors, right? And I think we have a great group of guys, as you mentioned, with Dante and guys like Jack Dingle and Trey Gola-Collard, and guys that have played a lot of football here, that are older in their careers. So I think that gives you a great foundation. And then I think as you look at the makeup of the depth chart and the roster, I mean, there's a great mixture of young guys, Jaquan Sanks, Monte Whedon, Simeon Coleman, young guys that played a lot of football for us that are now ready to take that next step in their careers. And then, of course, we've added some pieces, in the portal, and again, some talented guys that have really come in and bought in. So I think we got a great mixture. The best part about it is I think we're a connected group, right? I think guys are bought into what we're doing, what we're selling as a coaching staff and as a program. And again, that's the most important thing, man. It's the ultimate team game, and you got to have that culture in line.
When I was growing up in Cincinnati, it wasn't as prevalent for a player to play at UC and go to the NFL. Now, not only are players playing here, but they're major contributors in the NFL, some of the best at their individual positions. What does it take in a university now where you see the groundwork that you can make it to the next level? What's it taking those players to be great?
Yeah, I mean, I think they have to take it upon themselves. I think, very confident in my abilities and our abilities as a coaching staff to develop those skills, and improve them as players, both physically and mentally, that are going to give them a chance, to continue playing. But I think, it's what they put on tape. It's what they choose to do with it, right? I mean, we're gonna demand an awful lot of them and require a lot of their time and their effort. But what are they willing to do outside of that? To continue to grow as a football player? How much film are they willing to watch on their own? How much studying of the game? How much preparation? We talk a lot about preparation and routine, and doing the extra, when the lights are off or when nobody's watching.
You're walking in at a very unique time because the indoor practice facility is being completed. It's all encompassing. It's not just a practice facility, but meeting rooms and nutrition and recovery, so many things under one roof. How important, even in recruiting, how important is what's being done with this practice facility to the football program?
Yeah, monumental. I think from a day-to-day operation and efficiency standpoint, from moving through how we have our days structured, from the treatment and the prehab and the rehab and those things that are required, into a meeting room, efficiently transitioning into a practice or a workout, the nutrition side of it with the facility. with the ability to feed the guys in one location in a nice facility there. So the day-to-day operation, is monumental that way. And then, of course, from a recruiting standpoint, we're in the Big 12. It is an arms race every year where people are trying to sell what they've got from a facility standpoint. But I think just selling a state-of-the-art, as good as any in the country facility where you get a chance to develop and prepare and grow as a player, I think that's huge.
Lastly, you walk the hallways and you can see the players that have played here, but it kind of takes you back to see the coaches that have come through and coached at the University of Cincinnati and the legacies that they've built. When you think about your own legacy now coming into year one, what's the legacy that you hope to leave at the University of Cincinnati?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, this place has a rich tradition of football, and to me, I feel a great deal of responsibility to do everything I can, to help keep that tradition alive and build on it. We're in a great place. There's been a ton of success over the history of the program, and there's high expectations, and we relish that challenge and relish that opportunity, and just super blessed to be in a program where winning and championship football is placed at such a high premium. That's a goal of mine that I've had a dream to be at that level for a long time, and finally being able to be in a program like that, dream come true, and I don't take that lightly.
Coach, this was great. We appreciate the time. Good luck this year.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Yes, sir.